Hello there, and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Wherever you are, I invite you now to slow down. Let your shoulders loosen, let your jaw relax. Maybe you're already tucked under warm covers, your head resting gently on your pillow. Perhaps the lights are dim or a candle flickers nearby. Maybe you can hear a quiet breeze or the hum of night just beyond your window. Tonight, I'll tell you a story, a quiet little piece of history about something that once held the world in a soft, strange enchantment. It's a story not of war or kings or battles, but of a flower. Just a flower, a tulip. A simple bloom that, for a little while, was worth more than gold. This is the tale of tulip mania. So close your eyes if you'd like, or let them soften and blink slowly. Just listen. Let the story drift around you like the scent of petals in spring air. Our story begins in the early 1600s, in the Netherlands, during what historians call the Dutch Golden Age. It was a time of trade, art, and invention. A time when the narrow canals of Amsterdam were lined with merchant ships, and the air was filled with the smell of spices, wool, and warm bread from morning markets. The world was expanding for the Dutch, and into that expanding world came a flower, carried from the east by way of traders who traveled far beyond what most people could imagine. Tulips, they were called. Their name came from the Persian word for turban, tulipan, for they looked like a little wrapped crown of soft color. At first, these flowers bloomed in the private gardens of botanists and wealthy collectors. They were rare, exotic, and like all rare things, they became desired. But the tulip was more than just a flower. Its colors were unlike anything in Europe. Some were creamy and golden, others striped and feathered with fire-like lines, deep purples fading into silvery blush. They became a quiet obsession. Can you imagine waking early on a spring morning in a small Dutch town? The air is cool, but the sun is beginning to warm the cobblestones. You rise from a feather bed, wrap yourself in wool, and walk down to your garden with a steaming cup of chicory coffee. And there, in neat rows and patches, tulips have pushed through the earth. Their green stalks rise proudly, their blooms cupped gently like sleepy hands greeting the day. The striped ones are the rarest, the ones with flames of red or violet streaked down creamy petals. These were often caused by a mosaic virus, but no one knew that at the time. To them, it was magic, pure, beautiful, unpredictable magic. Collectors gave the rarest tulips beautiful names. Names like Admiral of Admirals, or Viceroy, or Semper Augustus. These flowers became living treasures. As tulip fever grew, so did the trade. At first, it was just among wealthy merchants and collectors. But slowly, others joined in. Barbers, bakers, cobblers, even chimney sweeps. The tulip trade was not just about flowers, it became about dreams. You see, one tulip bulb could be traded for the price of a small house, or several barrels of beer, or a whole wagon of grain. People began buying tulip bulbs not to plant, but to sell. And most of it happened not in grand markets, but in small taverns and quiet back rooms. People wrote contracts, not for the bulb itself, but for the promise of a bulb, a kind of early futures trading. It was a bubble, but a very quiet one, a hopeful one made of soft petals and the gentle promise of spring. Imagine the taverns, wood-paneled, warm, filled with the scent of pipe smoke and wax candles. A man scribbles on parchment, agreeing to pay a certain sum for a certain bulb come April. Night after night, the tulip contracts changed hands, and with every new signature, the price grew. Some bulbs were worth thousands of guilders, but what they truly traded was hope, the dream of a better life, of comfort, of something beautiful. And it all happened without shouting, without chaos, just slowly, like the unfurling of a petal. No one knew how it would end. Not the cobbler who sold a year's wages for a rare bulb, not the merchant who promised future payment, and certainly not the farmer who simply grew the bulbs, watching them with the same quiet pride he gave hhis potatoes. And so it grew. The bubble, like a tulip in too much rain, gently collapsed. One day, buyers didn't appear. Prices drifted downward. Contracts were abandoned. The dreams faded like morning mist. But it wasn't loud, it wasn't violent, just a quiet cooling, like the end of a season. And life went on. The bakers baked, the farmers planted, the windmills turned as they always had. Some fortunes were lost, yes, but the flowers still bloomed. And in the gardens of Harlem and Amsterdam, tulips continued to rise in springtime. Their petals opened to the soft sky, just as they always had, entirely unaware of the price they once commanded. Looking back now, historians see tulip mania as the first financial bubble, a lesson perhaps in speculation. But when told gently, it is also something else, a story of beauty, of how something as soft and simple as a flower captured a nation's heart. Maybe it's a reminder that value isn't always about gold or numbers. Sometimes it's about hope, about a color you've never seen before, about planting something small and waiting for it to bloom. And perhaps, in a world that's often loud and fast, it's okay to remember that even a tulip, quiet, delicate, and slow, once made the world pause and wonder. And now, with tulips gently swaying in the back of your mind, you can let yourself drift. The story has been told. The garden has faded into twilight. Let the last flicker of candlelight dim. Let the wind in the canal quiet. Let the world slow down as it once did for a flower. Sleep well, and good night.